One night I was driving home from work when my car broke down. Work takes me all over West Virginia. I was practically in the middle of nowhere. So I pulled over to the side of the road and popped open the hood. So I took out my cell phone. I tried to call the garage, the auto club, anybody that could help me out, but the cell phone just wouldn't work. So I got so mad, I slammed the hood. Next thing I know, there's this strange woman in front of me dressed all in black, riding a black horse. I have no idea where she came from. I tried to call out to her to say hello, to see who she was, but she just wouldn't answer me. She just kept staring at me with these eyes and coming closer and closer on her horse. I just started to get really frightened. I started to run away. I ended up in a forest, and I thought it would be a safe place to hide, but she was there everywhere I looked. I ran behind bushes and around trees, and everywhere I looked, she was there. I don't know how she did it. I was really scared, and I started running, and then I fell. And I looked up, and there she was, coming closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, she vanished. She was nowhere. All of a sudden, my phone rang, which scared me half to death because it hadn't been working. It was my sister. She had called to tell me that our father had passed away of a heart attack. A while later, I was talking to my mother a little more about our Scottish heritage, and she told me about the myth of the Banshee. I usually don't believe in stuff like that, but I do now.
In the quiet community of Marrtown, West Virginia, a ghostly woman travels the night by horse to deliver her message. A message of doom to those of pure Scottish or Irish descent. She's nicknamed the Black Fairy, and all those who've seen her remark upon her blood-red eyes. The roads along the Ohio River have been famous for Banshee sightings.
Stephen Flanagan was driving home to his farm one cold October night, when in the middle of the road, blocking his way, he was met by an old woman on horseback. He honked his horn, hoping to get the woman to move out of the way. The horse paced back and forth, but would not move aside. All the while, the woman just stared at Stephen. Stephen waited impatiently, but the horse and rider did not move. Stephen got out of his car to ask the woman to let him pass. As he approached the woman, Stephen noticed her glistening blood-red eyes. Slowly, the horse and rider began to move away until they disappeared into the darkness. When Stephen got home a short while later, he found his wife had died of a massive heart attack. When we come back, the sad tale of the Marr family's meetings with the Banshee.
The Banshee is known for her wailing cries. What she really is an Irish-Scottish attendant death fairy who attaches herself to certain Irish and Scottish clans. She wears a black shroud and she rides a horse. The Banshee actually has what they say is a loud, keening cry that can be heard into the night as she cries out for her Irish and Scottish dead. Now, she doesn't cause the death. She's not an evil figure. She only announces the death. through her cries. Thomas and Mary Marr were immigrants from Scotland, a place in Scotland that strongly believed in things like banshees and witches and ghosts. Mary Marr was an autumn bride, an ill omen among the Scottish. They had several children, but many of these children died. 10 years after the Civil War, Thomas Marr got a job as a night watchman near the Little Kanawha River. In Shawnee Indian, the word Kanawha means river of the evil spirits or river of death. During his job as a night watchman, Thomas Marr would come home early in the morning and he would tell Mary this strange story about seeing this shrouded figure on a horse, and he couldn't really tell if the figure was a man or a woman. As he would approach this figure, the horse would rear up and they would disappear into the mist of morning. On February 5th, 1876, Mary Marr awakened with a terrible feeling of dread. In the distance, she could see this shrouded figure on a horse coming up the road toward the Marr farmhouse. Slowly, slowly came this figure on the horse, and finally it came up to the front stoop. Beneath that veil across the face, Mary Marr could see these glittering red eyes.
Hello? Who's there?
And the woman didn't say anything for a few moments, and finally that woman, that banshee, pointed a bony finger at Mary Marr and said, "Mary Marr, Thomas Marr has just died. Say your prayers, lady. I bid you well." The horse reared up, and the rider and the horse once again disappeared into the mist.
Unbelieving, Mary mounted her horse and took off to look for her husband. That was not the last the Marr family would see of the Banshee. Mary Marr lived to the age of 90, and when she died, the sound of banshees shrieking could be heard outside the house. A few years after Mary's death, one of the Marr children lost his hand in a gruesome accident. While family members watched over the boy, the desperate mother tried to stop the bleeding. As she wrung out the bloody bandages on the porch, she saw a woman on horseback slowly approach the house.
Who's there?
She had heard the family legends of the Banshee and knew immediately she had come to take her
Leave
son
us
away.
alone!
Desperate, she screamed to the Banshee, begging it to leave.
Go away! Just leave us alone, please!
But it would not leave. She then resorted to prayer. With every fiber in her being, she prayed that her son would live, and this horrible figure would go away. Mary's prayer seemed to disturb the Banshee, and her horse became more and more skittish. Eventually, the Banshee went away. Unfortunately, the boy died a day later, and the Banshee was heard howling outside the house upon his death. The Marr family had learned what their Irish and Scottish ancestors had known for centuries, that the Banshee was, indeed, a messenger of death.
Can you get away from the Banshee's cries? I think not. When you hear them, you should take them very seriously.
Coming up after the break, the grim tale of a grisly murderer known as the Listle Ripper.